Today, we face another turning point. In the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the point in history at which we stand is full of promise and of danger. The good news is that the global economy is on a firmer footing. Millions of people are benefiting from vaccines that hold the promise of a normal life, of embracing friends and loved ones. But there is danger as well. Economic fortunes are diverging. Vaccines are not yet available to everyone and everywhere. It is very clear there will be no sustainable recovery without giving people a fair shot. What should be done? First, we must keep our focus on escaping the crisis. We must follow the example of the scientists by stepping up cross-border efforts, by doing whatever it takes to ramp up vaccine production, distribution, and deployment. One option is to pursue at the global level what has worked at the national level, and that is subsidizing vaccine producers, input suppliers, and last-mile distribution. The world needs a fair mechanism to redistribute vaccines from surplus to deficit countries and a fully funded COVAX facility to accelerate vaccinations in poorer countries. This is how we can protect people's health, but also how we can accelerate the recovery. Faster progress in ending the health crisis could add almost $9 trillion to global GDP by 2025. But the window of opportunity is closing fast. The longer it takes to speed up vaccine production and rollout, the harder it will be to achieve these gains. Second, we must safeguard the recovery. As the pandemic recedes, government furlough and support programs should be scaled back, but this transition needs to be carefully managed to cushion the impact on workers through income support, targeted hiring subsidies, retraining, reskilling. There should also be further support to viable small and medium-sized firms through equity injections and more effective bankruptcy procedures. SMEs are the world's biggest employer. Yet our research shows that the share of insolvent SMEs could rise sharply this year as support is scaled back, threatening 1 in 10 jobs in this vital sector. And here you can see the effectiveness of current procedures across the world. Most emerging and developing countries are orange or red, which means they would be more heavily affected by a wave of insolvencies. So we need further reforms to mitigate these economic scars and promote a fairer transition. Third, invest in the future. The crisis has made the case for pandemic preparedness and more broadly for investing in resilience, especially to climate shocks. A new momentum is building towards greener, smarter, and more inclusive economies. Yep, so far, only a small fraction of fiscal stimulus has been directed to climate and green finance. But the tide is turning, and rightly so. A coordinated green infrastructure push combined with carbon pricing could boost global GDP in the next 15 years by 0.7% a year and create millions of jobs. All this is essential, but it would only take us so far. The harsh reality is that poorer nations are at risk of missing out on what is going to be a historic transformation to a new global economy built on green and digital foundations. New IMF research released today shows that low-income countries have to deploy some $200 billion over 5 years just to fight the pandemic, and then another $250 billion to return to the path of catching up to higher income levels. They can cover only a portion of that on their own. Success would call for a comprehensive effort, more domestic revenue mobilization, more external concessional financing, more help to deal with debt. For our part, the IMF has stepped up in an unprecedented way. We have provided over $107 billion in new financing to 85 countries, debt service relief to 29 of our poorest members. In sub-Saharan Africa, IMF financing last year was about 13 times more than the annual average over the previous decade. And I'm very encouraged that support is building among the IMF's membership for a possible special drawing rights allocation of $650 billion. This would benefit all our members, but especially the most vulnerable, by boosting reserves without adding to debt burdens. It will send a powerful signal of multilateral solidarity, freeing up resources for vaccination programs and other urgent needs. How we work together to build a better world will be remembered for generations to come. Let's give it a fair shot.